Before that, here on BBC One Northern Ireland, as championship fever rises again, Jerome Quinn looks back on 3 glorious years.
Glorious years for Ulster football. 3 years in which I have been privileged to have watched every ball kicked and to have been close to the personalities involved. We'll hear from them later, and we'll see the best of the championship action. We'll also trace the origins of Ulster football right back through the last 50 years or so. Right back to Cavan's 5 All-Ireland titles from 1933 to 1952, a glorious chapter for the Breffni Blues. Other Ulster counties tried to follow suit, like Armagh in 1953 and Derry, seen here in the 1958 final with Dublin. A talented team, led and inspired by the great Jim McKeever, but ultimately unsuccessful. Then Down's history makers went a step further in 1960, the first Northern winners.
It sounds a bit pompous, actually, that we planned it that way, but we did in a way, you know. And it's only years after I discovered that they call it management by objectives, you know. We thought it was common sense. And we just got going at it. And we decided that if we got a panel of players together and arranged a sort of a contract on and say, you stick with us and we'll stick with you and we'll see how we do.
We came along with some very exceptional players. I think that must be said. We had a forward line second to none in Ireland, and the defence did its work as well. So we really had an exceptional team, but we had a great spirit in the team, comradeship. We worked for one another, and it really was a group of players setting out to win All-Ireland and achieving it.
The manner of Down's breakthrough was also significant. Their fast running game was something new.
It certainly was. You had to change to beat the traditional catch and kick teams. I mean, we simply weren't as physically as big as some of the teams. So our tactics were evolved to defeat those people, and it did. It succeeded.
And so Kevin Musson from Clonduff in County Down stepped into the history books, the first man from Northern Ireland to lift the Sam Maguire, though not everything went according to plan.
PA system broke down in Croke Park that year. My speech remained in the little pocket of my shorts.
But it didn't really matter. Down were champions and Sam had a new home.
We stopped short of the border and got out of the cars. Now the customs were in operation in those days. And no one was quite sure whether to take the cup off us or not. We went over in a mass anyway, and the customs men looked at the cup and smiled, and that was it.
Down won again in '61 and in 1968, when the Mourne County rounded off a glorious decade by beating Kerry once again to complete a remarkable hat-trick of All-Ireland titles.
Turns out to be Joe Lennon. Joe Lennon up along the wing. John Murphy with the ball now. Into the centre. Sean O'Neill trying to work his way through. A great save. Oh, a great save by Johnny Cullity. Another shot and it's a goal.
And the welcome home was historic too. For the first time, a Gaelic football side was given a civic reception at Belfast City Hall. The Down captain later described it as a highlight in their victory celebrations. Centrepiece of the event was, of course, the Sam Maguire Trophy, won after that close match with Kerry. Alderman Geddes told Down that Belfast was proud of any winning Ulster team, no matter what sport they played.
But things were about to change dramatically, both in the wider society and in Gaelic football, as the Ulster Championship opened up in the 70s. Every county, bar Fermanagh, appeared in a final. Teams like Armagh were reborn. They came from nowhere in 1977 to reach their first final in 16 years and to win for the first time since 1953. 2 years later, another sleeping giant awoke. Monaghan had last won in 1938. However, while Ulster fought over the Anglo-Celt, Dublin and Kerry dominated the All-Ireland scene, prompted by rivalry between their managers, Kevin Heffernan and Mick O'Dwyer.
O'Dwyer brought Kerry to such a height in 75 that they swept the Dubs away. Now, the Dubs had won in 74 and they thought that they were on the start of something really big. So it was an almost tit-for-tat process. Heffernan realised what O'Dwyer had done and realised that to match them, they had to match them not only in skill but in terms of fitness and everything else. So he then moved Dublin onto a higher plane again, and they won in 76 and unfortunately in 77. O'Dwyer realised what was happening, so he moved Kerry onto a plane that Dublin couldn't achieve at all, and they swept the Dubs out of the road, and they had reached such a high level, almost a plateau, which extended for the next 7 years or so, 7 or 8 years, that no one could match them. We in Ulster were still existing in the cocoon that was the Ulster Championship, and we weren't really worried at all. There was a Hadrian's Wall almost built up around Ulster, and we didn't peep over the top of it until we dared to come out of Ulster. And because there was a different team coming out every year, when they did emerge out, they were so happy that they had won the Ulster Championship that they said, oh right, the All-Ireland's coming along, so now we'll look at it.
Armagh were a prime example in 77. Colourful support, led by Jimmy Smith, Brian Michael Linden in goals, and with other outstanding individuals like All-Star centre half-back Paddy Moriarty, they swept through to the final in the very real belief that they could beat the mighty Dubs. However, the harsh realities of the time were something different.
If you take it in boxing parlance, if you appear in a world heavyweight fight and or any sort of contest, and you're standing there full of hope and you're suddenly knocked out in the first 20 or 30 seconds, you get the impression that this person on the other side not only means business, but he's emphasising the fact that he's vastly, possibly superior to you. Well, the knockout, as far as Armagh were concerned, came from Jimmy Keaveney's foot, I think, inside the first couple of minutes.
Oh, intended pass there that went very much astray, and Brian Mullins gets it. Tom McCree's getting back to it. You can see the damage that the rain has done. These players skidding all over the place. Jimmy Keaveney, a goal! Oh, what a goal! What a goal by Jimmy Keaveney! From an almost impossible angle, about a minute and a half gone on the game, and Jimmy Keaveney sending that one in from a most awkward position.
Even though we came back after that and replied with a penalty from Paddy Moe, that was Dublin's way of saying to us, we are the masters here.
Ulster continued to be mastered at Croke Park, though in the early 80s a promising young Tyrone team emerged to win their first Anglo-Celt in 11 years. In 1985, Monaghan came out of Ulster, and Sean McCaig's men threatened an upset when they took the great Kerry team to a replay before eventually losing by 5 points. The following year, Tyrone were back, and this time in the final for the very first time. Their supporters took over the hill, and the team boldly took charge of the game. Tyrone led at half-time, and this goal from Podge Quinn, just 45 seconds after the restart, gave them a 6-point lead. Minutes later, Kevin McCabe made it 7 from a penalty, but Kerry immediately moved into top gear. Mikey Sheehy setting up Pat Spillane to reduce the gap to 3 points. And 6 minutes later, Kerry were level. Sheehy this time with a clinical finish. His team added another 9 points. Tyrone mustered just 1 in reply.
I know some people would be critical of Tyrone for the collapse, and there was a collapse, but again, the collapse was possibly a lack of leadership, a lack of confidence, simply a lack of maturity of the big occasion. When it was over, I was just relieved that it was over, and that, you know, that we had played well. But I think as time goes on, you know, and I realise how close we were to it, you know, I would bitterly regret that we just simply couldn't have taken the opportunity when it was there.
Tyrone's defeat seemed to send Ulster into another slump. Derry, Monaghan and Tyrone again all failed at Croke Park. Down were another county in a slump, and even when they appointed a new manager, Pete McGrath, in the autumn of 1989, few anticipated the impact he would have on Down's fortunes.
A lot of the players weren't that happy about the appointment, and Pete knows that, so there's no secret. But I think after he came to the pre-start meeting with the members of the county boards and he gave a speech, and I think he turned and convinced a lot of us that he maybe was the man for the job. And we always respected the fact that he took a job that a lot of other people had turned down.
Certainly I would have been aware and conscious at the time that there were some players on the panel, experienced players, who maybe felt that I wasn't the man for the job, the fact that maybe I was too young, the fact that I was still playing club football, etc. But that didn't bother me, and I simply saw it as I took a decision to do the job, and I would do it the way I felt it should be done, and that ultimately I would get the players who would conform to my, if you like, ideas about the game and how it should be played.
McGrath's first championship did not suggest future glories. Beaten in the semi-finals at Casement Park by neighbours and rivals Armagh after a replay. Though there were a few glimmers of hope.
Linden, and it was McCartan. What can McCartan do? He tries a shot, he puts it in the net. Ambrose Rogers, way on his own. Once again the ball's drilled in towards McCartan. McCartan is going goalwards. He takes a shot, it's in the net! It's in the net by James McCartan.
Down also reached the league final in 1990, but after the Armagh defeat, some experienced players became disillusioned.
For a while in the Down team, it was maybe harder to get off it than it was to get on it. With due respect to everybody involved, but at times certain players, myself, I won't talk about anybody else, but I thought that a God-given right to wear the Down jersey. In the spring of '91, that seemed to change a bit, where the senior players of the team got together and they had a small meeting and said, this is it. If this is the swan song, then let's go out with a bang.
The 1991 Ulster Championship began well for Down. A penalty awarded after just 7 minutes for a foul on their new find, bustling full forward Peter Withnow, a soccer player plucked from Division 3 side Drummondess. Mickey Linden crashed a penalty past Benny Tierney and Down were in front. However, they didn't capitalise on the early score and were fortunate when Jim McConville missed a goal chance at the other end. Armagh led at half-time, and the score which eventually brought Down level was actually illegal. A free kick was given for a foul on Ross Carr, but only the fouled player can then kick from the hands. Therefore, Greg Blaney's pass to Liam Austin should not have been permitted, though it mattered little to Pete McGrath, who felt the comfort of a first championship win. In the semi-finals at Armagh, Down led Derry by 11 points to 4, 10 minutes into the second half. The game was theirs until this happened.
Charlie McGurk fouled by Blaney. And Greg Blaney has been sent off for that tackle.
Derry took full advantage with substitutes Joe Brawley and Anthony Tohill alive.
Anthony Tohill forced a kick from outfield and puts it over the bar. The battle of the big men won on this occasion by Brian McGilligan. Could this be the game swinging around? McGilligan for once getting on top of Austin, and here's McGilligan. This would be an inspirational score for the Derry men. Inside it goes, side-footed and brilliantly put into the net. Still McNichol. Oh wait, Gormley. Still Gormley on the left-footed goes. Has he the power? Well, brilliantly kept out by Nate Collins.
That inspirational save showed Down were not dead. They had plenty left.
And just listen to the roar once James McCartan gets the ball. Beautiful balance by McCartan. Still McCartan. The left foot. And the man for the big occasion brings them level yet again. And now Eamon Burns. Still Eamon Burns. Beautiful control by Burns. Slips the tackle. Beautifully again. Strikes it magnificently over the bar. You will never see a better score of skill, control and finish. And yet again, Down know what it's like to be playing in injury time. Punched away by McKeever. Ross Carr lays the ball off. Barry Breen is fouled. And who will take this vitally important free kick? Will it be Barry Breen? Or will it be Ross Carr?
Michael Greenan, the referee, quite happily just walked on, and he never mentioned to me that it was the last kick, so there was no undue pressure, so to speak, at that stage. It was another free kick and there was a point in it. I had missed an easier one earlier on, and it was only about 40 to 45 yards out, so I knew distance was no problem. Maybe if I never win another All-Ireland and time goes on, it'll get a wee bit longer each year.
I've got a feeling after Ross Carr pointed the free to make it a draw against Derry in the first game, I get a feeling then that we were going to do something like that.
At the start of the replay, Derry made a number of tactical switches which backfired. Down raced into a match-winning lead, though they were given a bit of a fright late in the game.
Now here's a chance. The ball hit the crossbar and came out. What a let-off for the Down men. How to switch defence into attack. McCartan, listen to the roar. Is that relief from the let-off, or is it because this man's on the ball? Still McCartan. Is a man outside him. It's Greg Blaney, and Blaney hits the deck, and we have a penalty.
The penalty given, Down felt relief. Mickey Linden settled for a point, safe in the knowledge that Down were through to the final. And at Clonus, Down fans mixed freely with their Donegal counterparts. Hopes were high among them of a first Ulster title in 10 years. James McCartan suggested as much, and when he combined on the other side of the attack to set up DJ Kane for an inspirational score, we knew Down meant business.
Craig should be on his honeymoon, but instead he's here in Clonus, trying to add to his tally of Ulster medals. And here's a race, and Mickey Linden's won the race, and he's won a brilliant goal for the Down men.
The Down bench had one moment to worry. 10 minutes into the second half, when the difference was down to 4 points.
And in swoops McHugh. McHugh trying to force his way forward. He's being forced out, forced onto the right foot. Here comes Brian McGann. Brilliantly saved by Neil Collins. And what a let-off, but what brilliant anticipation by the Down goalkeeper.
And DJ Kane in there as well, who got the final touch to it.
McCartan collected that ball well. Just look how he operates in no space at all. Greg Blaney. And now look at this, Barry Breen. It's still Barry Breen. Could this be Down's opening score? If it is, it'll be an inspirational one. And it is. And Barry Breen proves to be the man for the big occasion. And just look at the room McCartan has. And who's running inside him but Mickey Linden? McCartan decides to go alone. And what a classy score from a classy forward. And just look at the smile on manager Peter McGrath's face.
Paddy O'Rourke shared that delight in raising the cup before the Down supporters. And in his speech, the captain paid special tribute to Pete McGrath.
I would like to thank Pete McGrath and his selectors from the bottom of my heart. A couple of years ago, we were looking for a manager, and they looked the whole 20, but no one had the guts of Pete McGrath to come and say, I'll do it.
The Down bandwagon moved on to Croke Park, bigger and brighter than before, in expectation of a repeat of their famous championship victories over Kerry in the 60s. The captain had a few final words for his team, and the flags were ready. The scene was set for a simply electrifying first quarter.
Collected well. Fed onto his partner, Ambrose O'Donovan. He was looking outside him towards Morgan Nix, but that's James McCartan nipping in there. On towards the middle centre, and that's Blaney. Oh, it's come off the crossbar from a great pass from Mickey Linden to Greg Blaney. Nola Mahoney can't cut it out. It's gone to Mason. Support from Barry Breen. Tom Spillane having difficulty containing Whitnall, and it's on towards Linden, and he's taken down, and it's a penalty. A penalty for Down. What a dramatic start to this match. Linden keeping his concentration, continuing to look at the goal. He's put it wide. Mickey Linden and Charlie Nelligan smiles. The history of the All-Ireland series is, I'm afraid, littered with Ulster teams who've come here, got penalties and missed them. Nola Mahoney. A let-off for Kerry. They respond quickly. John Cronin playing it inside towards Maurice Fitzgerald. Can they score at the other end? They have! No! Just kept out somehow. Still pressing forward. Jack O'Shea. Pat Spillane. Well, that was a lead off for down. Now it's Timmy Fleming. Belting in. Held with some difficulty and lost. Off the post again. Maurice Fitzgerald was out of luck. Gary Mason kicking from the sideline. James McCarthy trying to steal inside. It comes back to Whitnell trying to set up the chance for Linden. It was well marked. This is Whitnell, and that's a goal at last. A beautifully created, beautifully taken goal by Peter Whitnell.
But Down came out for the second half with their ears stinging from a dressing down by the manager. Kerry led by a point, but they were allowed only one more in the last 35 minutes as Barry Breen soldiered on, and Down came good once again in the last quarter.
It was the 23rd free of the second half, and we've had 50 in all as Linden raids by Jack O'Shea. Kicking, and he's put it over the bar. Mickey Linden brings the stadium to life once again. Barry Breen hoping that last goal will give Down the necessary injection as Whitnell is through in the clear. The shot, it's a goal! A second goal for Peter Whitnell. They were surely inspired by that last point by Mickey Linden. Neil Collins telling everybody to cool it down, we're not there yet. DJ Kane going back, making it safe and secure. Chipping it neatly across to Brendan McKiernan. McCartan was reaching out for it, but Blaney gets onto it fast. Good secure build-up play. Whitnell looks recovered in there in the middle of that little movement. Ross Carr now, 2 points so far in this game for him, taking it back from Mickey Linden. A very confident-looking Down team have gone into a fine lead, and it's Ross Carr who's kicked the third point of the afternoon.
The late burst saw Down home. The two-goal hero Peter Whitnell was surely the happiest man ever carried off at Croke Park. He'd be okay for the final, where Meath would be waiting. The Leinster champions had earlier come through an incredible series of games with Dublin, coming back several times from impossible situations, as they did again in the All-Ireland semi-final with Roscommon.
Meath had established a myth almost that they couldn't be beaten. They had come so precariously close so many times to being beaten, and looked down and out, particularly in the final game against Dublin, when they were being beaten by 3 points with time practically up. But I can assure you that there was one group of people who were totally convinced that Meath could be beaten.
McGrath's confidence showed on the face of his captain on the day of the final, and it was a relaxed team that travelled to Dublin for the big match. Hill 16 was an awesome sight for any Down man, though the players were focused on the game itself. In particular, they were prepared and determined to show Meath that although they were in their first final, they were not going to roll over and be easily beaten.
We knew going into the All-Ireland final what to expect, that Meath would play it very, very hard and very tough. And I think in the first 10 or 15 minutes, we sent out the signal that we were prepared to live with that.
Down did live with Meath, despite going behind to 2 early points. Gary Mason pointed 3 free kicks, Ross Carr another, and after 20 minutes the Northerners took the lead for the first time with a great score from play.
Blaney feeds Eamon Burns, the Brantford man kicks it high, and Down lead for the first time after 20 minutes. Linden, he's got a man in front of him, it's Whitnell, he needs support. James McCartan's the man outside, McCartan kicks it high, and Down lead by 2.
By half-time, Down led by 8 points to 4. What came next was 15 minutes of brilliance. Down at their very best.
The lob ball in by Barry Breen. First one under Mickey Linden. The Mayo Bridge man tries to force his way out. He finds Ross Carr. Still Ross Carr, been put under a lot of pressure. Now here comes James McCartan. McCartan turns, left-footed, brilliantly over the bar, and Down lead by 4 again. McCartan, he's everywhere the second half. Now it's Ross Carr, the Clonduff man, left-footed, and it's double scores. Blaney switches the play across. Once again, McCartan first to react. Still James McCartan, chased and hurried by Kevin Foley. trying to get away from him. Gives it off now to Mickey Linden. Linden against Foley. It's still Mickey Linden. Turns onto the left foot. The Mayo Bridge man strikes it. A brilliant score by Mickey Linden. And just look how delighted he is. Up we go again. Once again it's McCartan. Peter Whitnell. Whitnell, is he fouled? The referee allows play to go on. James McCartan. Still McCartan. It's that low centre of gravity that can't contend with here. Greg Blaney. He's got Mickey Linden inside. Barry Breen into the empty net. And it's at the goal that sends down on the way to their 4th All-Ireland title.
Barry Breen's goal put Down 9 points clear, and soon after Ross Carr had an opportunity to increase that lead. His captain had a word in his ear.
I was getting a wee bit tired, and Paddy came up to me, and as I was setting the ball down, he says, "This is it, you point this and we'll win the All-Ireland final."
With 20 minutes left, Down led by 11 points. Surely not even Meath, not even with Colin O'Rourke now on the field, could deny Down.
It's Bernard Flynn, a brilliant save by Collins. McKernan first to react, McKernan's fouled, and there's a free out. Eamon Burns, the Brantford man, picks it up, driving his way forward, gives it to Greg Blaney. Still Greg Blaney. Burns is outside him. The man who started the move finishes it magnificently over the bar. That's Eamon Burns' second point of the afternoon. Now it's Tommy Dowd, faced by McKernan, fouled by McKernan. But quickly taken free. Liam Hayes, all on his own. A goal for Meath! A goal for Meath, and now there's only 5 points in it. Liam Austin, the second half substitute, gives it out this time to Peter Whitnell. Whitnell's got Mason. Mason kicks it high, left-footed, kicks it over the bar. That's his 4th point of the afternoon. Paddy O'Rourke, the Down captain, all on his own. Coming away with the ball deep into injury time, kicks it into the Hogan stand. It's all over, and Down are the All-Ireland champions again.
As the crowd spilled onto the pitch, most of the players thought about collecting the cup in the Hogan stand. But Ross Carr had other ideas.
I remember going over to Hill 16 with DJ, because my brother and sister were in Hill 16, but trying to pick them out of Hill 16 was impossible. And then I went over to where my family were in the Hogan stand, and I went up to see my father and mother up there. So it was very emotional, because I had finally realised what it meant to so many people. When I turned around and saw grown men of 60 and 70 years of age crying, I sort of said to myself, this is what it's all about.
I had hoped that I would present the trophy to an Ulster captain, but I had never felt confident that I would. And first year up, Paddy O'Rourke comes up the steps first man, and I'd known Paddy for a long time, and I was delighted that Paddy was captain. I was delighted that Down had won. I was an admirer of Meath, still would be an admirer of Meath, but I have to say I was biased that day, and I was biting my nails, and I sat that day between the president and the Taoiseach. And at one stage, the president caught me by the wrist and said, look, calm down, because I was getting more than mildly excited. And within about 30 seconds, the Taoiseach caught me, and he actually pinned my wrist to the seat beside me, between us. And he said, look, he said, calm down, they're going to hold out, they're going to win it. But I wasn't convinced until the whistle went, and I was delighted to see Paddy O'Rourke come up the steps.
It was a special moment for the Down captain as well, the first Ulsterman to have the pleasure in 23 years.
When the cup was handed over to me, like it was a very precious piece of silverware. I actually, you know, you hear people talking about walking on air. Well, I felt that I could have jumped from the Hogan stand, and I just would have floated down through the sky. I didn't think, you know, I was on top of the world, and it was a wonderful feeling. Never felt anything like it before, and don't know if I ever will again.
Pete McGrath savoured the moment from down on the pitch, and thousands more would greet the champions the following evening in Newry. Many of them remembered the last time, and many enjoyed the epitaph voiced on the 1991 championship by the Down manager.
They said that Meath were a team that couldn't be beaten. We were the team that beat the team that couldn't be beaten.
Down's breakthrough sent a clear message to the rest of Ulster. Derry and Tyrone responded, both beating southern counterparts on their way to a dramatic 1992 league final. Peter Canavan appeared to have sealed a Tyrone victory when Anthony Tohill's speculative 45-metre kick was allowed to enter the Tyrone net. Derry won the National League, and then they set their eyes on beating the All-Ireland champions.
I knew there was something wrong in the change rooms beforehand, and if anybody ever watched the parade of that game, they would see the different attitudes to the two teams. The Derry players went in the parade single-minded. They weren't worrying who was at the game or that, and a few of the Down players were looking around to see who was in the crowd, and they weren't really prepared for what was going to happen.
What happened was that Down were outplayed by a Derry team right on top of their game, motivated by avenging their 91 defeat by Down and by the desire to show that they too could win an All-Ireland.
To the back of the net. Somewhere's on the line.
I can remember the Cavan goal particularly well. You know, Paul Carr slipped, the ball went over his head, and Finlay Cal stuck it in the net. And he came around and he punched the air. And McGinnity's words were so true at that particular time that it was just unreal. I could see the summer and my football career at an end. But we manufactured a goal. The wee man won a ball on the right side and he hoisted it into the square. Now, Tony Boyle were playing, and I don't think justifiably so, that he got a touch on it. But it finished up in the net. Now, it's one of those decisions that, you know, it could have been a square ball, it might not have been a square ball. It's very, very hard to call it, you know, unless you're right there on the spot. And that's what games are won and lost on.
Individual brilliance can also win games. Here's the score of the championship.
Up go the big men. Aidan Waters collects it, lobs it in. There's a race. Damien O'Reilly hooks it magnificently over the bar. The man from Mullahoran, the man they thought wouldn't start here today, the captain of the Cavan team, lobs it left-footed over the bar. Bradley comes alive again.
Yet more drama was to unfold, with Donegal awarded a long-distance free kick in the dying minutes of the game. The pressure was on, and up stepped the wee man from Kilcar, Martin McHugh.
It's one of them things, you know, it was maybe so far out you didn't expect to kick it. So what I actually done was to hit it as hard as I could, and Noel Higgley actually came to me beforehand. He says, "Put it dead anyway," you know. So I mean, I just hit it, and I knew that you know, with the breeze that we just blown, it was the advantage of a left-footed kicking, you know. So I just had to go, you know, and lucky enough I went over the bar. But I mean, I wouldn't like to be dependent on them every day. It's one of them things happen, you know, and you're just maybe that. I think that was a day that maybe proved to us that maybe the luck that was never on our side before that had started, because, you know, I mean, we would have still doubts about the square ball incident, but I mean, that's the bit of luck you need, and I think every successful team needs that bit of luck, you know.
But luck had no part in the replay. Donegal were clear winners in the rain at Ballybuffet a week later, coping well with the conditions and running up a total of 20 points and restricting Cavan to just a goal and 9. Donegal were through to the semi-finals. And in those semi-finals there was an even bigger margin of victory. Donegal 2-17, Fermanagh just 7 points, though a late flurry of scores flattered an average performance. Still, Donegal were at Clones for the 4th year in a row. Derry were there for the first time in 6 years, yet they were league champions and they had beaten Down. So even when Tony Boyle scored an early point for Donegal, Derry were expected to come back and win the day. Dermot McNichol did help that comeback in a disappointing, low-scoring opening half, just 5 points each at half-time. Though there was one important incident just before the break. John Cunningham missed McNichol with this challenge, but the referee, Jim Curran, felt the elbow was high and the intent was there. He had to go. Donegal down to 14 men and with plenty to think about at half-time.
I always remember, you know, we came into the dressing room, and I always remember there was a water can in there, and Brian had it a kick, first of all, and it was sitting across the floor, you know. I don't know if he was in bad humour with us or in bad humour with the referee or what. But, you know, we were down to 14 men, we were playing up the hill and against the breeze, you know, and we made a decision. And especially the older players would say, said, look, it's either now or never. I mean, after losing the 91 Ulster final, we lost the 92, that was it. It was curtains for us, you know.
Donegal delved deep into their immense pride and finally came of age with a superb second-half display.
Gordon Reid picks the ball up and feeds, who else but Tommy Ryan. Goes off Danny Quinn, and that is a majestic score. Gormley gets away for once, and here's Seamus Downey, a chance for Downey. Gets on the right foot, and hits the post. Certainly let off. Cassidy gets the shot in. Downey drills it the second time, puts it into the net, and the Labby man shoulders the light. And now it's Murray again. Delightful play by Donegal. A great kick by Murray, and Donegal lead stretches to 2 points. Haggerty pushes aside Gormley, and still Haggerty loves to attack, puts it in again, finds Declan Bonner. Bonner versus Tony Scullion. Still Declan Bonner shrugs off the challenge, makes the angle for himself, in turn gives it to Tommy Ryan, and Ryan unsavagely feeds it out to Martin McHugh, who with the angle of the open net facing him drills it over the bar. And there's Donegal again. Donald Reid, Martin McHugh, Martin Shovlin, McHugh again. Good work by McHugh, good work by Derry, and that huge roar signals yet another point for the man from Kilcar, and will that be the score that brings the Anglo-Celt back to Donegal?
I probably was more excited after the Ulster final than I was after the All-Ireland final. It was the fashion of the win, you know, the fact that we had lost Tony in the game. John Cunningham had been sent off. The game didn't seem to come for us the first half, and into the wind and the hill in the second half we carried the game with 14 men to Derry, and it was as good a performance and as gutsy a performance I've seen from any Donegal side. It was a great game of football because Derry proved afterwards they were a very good side.
I felt myself after that 92 final that Donegal got a break, because I think they expected to be beaten in 92.
Yes, Donegal had surprised even themselves. Anthony Malloy knew it had been their finest hour. Yet it was followed by one of their worst performances, the All-Ireland semi-final with Mayo. Donegal had never won a semi-final at Croke Park, and this represented their best opportunity to end that dismal run. But they became trapped in their own short game, overplaying the ball and shooting 14 horrible wides. No matter what they tried, Donegal just couldn't get the ball on target. And just as frustration began to turn to panic, 8-6 down in the second half, Manus Boyle came on to steady the Donegal ship.
Manus Boyle puts it over, brings them level, and now it's on to play for. So Manus Boyle brought on to do a job. He scored 2 points already, and the flags on the canal end went up before the umpire had a chance to wave the white flag. Gavin collects it. And now it's Anthony Malloy, the Donegal captain, the man from Ardra, pumps it in towards Tony Boyle. The man who was doubtful before the match gets possession. Still Boyle goes past Peter Ford, takes the kick over the bar, and that was an inspirational score from the Donegal full forward. Tony Boyle, Irwin comes off his line. Tony Boyle gets it. He's got a man inside of his Barry Cunningham. Still Cunningham, the chance. Fouled, and we've a penalty.
And as Martin McHugh tapped the ball over the bar, a wave of relief rippled over Croke Park. Donegal had beaten Mayo and themselves.
There was no mental barrier there, like a Fleece Donegal team's going to Croke Park and flopping, and that was there, and you know, there was no good and telling anything different. And I know that we struggled, and we slaughtered our way through that match, but we got there at the end, we kept plugging away, and we got there, I suppose, and I think once we got past that, you know, that day, we knew well ourselves that we wouldn't be too far away in the final, you know. We knew that if we got over, we actually said it in our audition before, and if we got over Mayo, that we would win the All-Ireland. We had that belief in ourselves, and it's a funny kind of a belief that we were more worried about Mayo than we were about winning the All-Ireland. And we actually prayed, basically, that Dublin would beat Clare, because we wanted to meet Dublin, because it kept the pressure on them, and we liked it that way, you know. If we were meeting Clare, it wouldn't have been the same thing.
Donegal prepared diligently, and they were actually happier going into the final than they were going into the semi-final.
I don't think there was any stone left unturned. The cooperation I got from Art McCrory, from his preparation, Pete McGrath, John O'Mahony, I just sought information from wherever it was available, and it was very forthcoming, particularly from the Ulster men. And then when I think of Sean O'Neill's call on the Sunday night before the All-Ireland, he caught up with me at the Great Northern, and I could feel O'Neill. He wasn't talking, he was coming through the phone to talk to me that particular occasion, and I could feel the hair rising on the back of my head, you know. He spoke about the wee man going down the barrel of the gun and how true it was, you know, and it was an expression I later used in the morning of the All-Ireland, you know, to the wee man, that he had to go down the barrel of the gun, and down the barrel of the gun he did go.
Indeed, it was McHugh and Donegal's big chance, though they made a very nervous start.
The breaking ball, there's a lot of foraging in there, there's a chance, and it's drilled to the left of the post, was it? But a push, and we've a penalty. Well, Charlie Redmond, he's taken frees at the canal end before, and that's exactly what happened the last time.
Dublin manager Paddy Cullen was left to rue that miss and to admire a rejuvenated Donegal.
Long clearance, out comes Bonner, beats the Dublin captain Tommy Carr, transfers it down to Malloy, the draw man, in towards Tony Boyle. Boyle has space, he's looking on the left foot, gives it instead across, Manus Boyle up the crossbar again and over the bar. That should have been a goal for Donegal. He's got a man on the outside of him, elects to go inside. Now that is really close. Martin McHugh, the space opens up in front of him. 4 blue jerseys after McHugh, majestically strikes it over, and what a way to bring the sides level in Croke Park. Back of the action, McHugh again, gives it to Bonner. Bonner brings Donegal into the lead for the first time. That score by McHugh ignited the crowd, and this one from Bonner has set the canal end alight. Boyle first again in front of Jerry Hargan. The Ballymun man certainly hasn't had what he would say was the most enjoyable afternoon. Manus Boyle, jinx, still maintains possession. Onto the right foot. If this goes over, the canal end will explode. And it does! And the canal end raise their flags in jubilation.
A 3-point half-time lead had become 6 before Dublin finally made their charge, cutting back to 3 points in a nail-biting last 10 minutes.
I decided, having watched Roscommon the previous year let the game slip against Meath, I decided to go on the pitch. I crossed the pitch, it costed £300, and when I got to the far side I decided I'd spend another £300 and I go back across the pitch to get the boys to get the half-forward line back up, to get a bit of shape on the side, and to get I shouted at Anthony Malloy, I make no apologies, and Anthony goes, well, no, some very tough words, and I think he just lifted himself for that last 10 minutes.
Cunningham into the corner, Boyle's got in behind his man, it's still Manus Boyle, could this be the one? He goes for the point. James McHugh gives it to Bonner. Is this the insurance point? He tried to get on the left foot, surely he does. Kicks it high, kicks it over, and the canal end goes alight.
The celebrations had already begun. Donegal were champions for the very first time. The supporters took over Croke Park. Their captain raised the cup, and Sam was for the hills of Donegal. Next evening, huge crowds gathered along the journey home. They could barely believe the coveted silverware was theirs. The one man was not surprised.
I can remember being so confident. My wife stopped me at the porch of the house going out, and she said, Brian, is there any way that you might prepare yourself in the eventuality of a defeat? And I said, woman, I says, there's no way we're going to be beaten. And as only as late as the week or two before Christmas, we were coming from Dublin last December, that's December 1993. I spoke to her about the run-in and what it was like for her, and she said that she was of the belief that Dublin were going to beat us on that particular occasion. It was the first time I actually had quizzed her on that matter, you know. She was quite confident that we weren't going to win. For some reason, I suppose maybe she was a Cork woman.
Rivalry within Ulster now became even greater than before. Derry wanted a piece of the action, but after a 2-goal start in the league at Breffni, they faded, and Tony Boyle's winner kept the balance of power in Donegal, who eventually lost in a replayed league final to Dublin. Derry had a rethink, and they entered the Ulster Championship a much more purposeful and committed team. Anthony Tohill epitomised the new Derry. The man of the match was unstoppable, head and shoulders above his opponents at the start of the first half and again at the start of the second half. He didn't miss much in between either, as Derry handed down their heaviest championship defeat in 41 years. Dermot Heaney scored an early goal. Eamon Burns a late one and Richard Ferris another. Derry 3-11 down 9 points, and the Oakleaf boys were on their way. Next stop was Casement Park. Derry stuttered against Monaghan before Joe Brolly arrived on the scene. His 3 points took Derry into a mouth-watering Ulster final rematch with Donegal. However, the occasion was spoiled for a capacity crowd by a deluge of rain just before the match and by the inability of the new sod to cope with the downpour. The water sat on the Clonus pitch. The players slipped and slid across the surface, though to their credit they made the best out of atrocious conditions, serving up some fine football. Still, scores were at a premium in the first half. Martin McHugh pointed for Donegal, and at the other end Dermot McNicholl replied for Derry, who trailed 5-4 at half-time. The manager had this message for his players.
Whatever we have done before, that's all gone. We're going to be judged on the next 35 minutes here in Clonus. Everything in Derry has done before won't be mentioned if we're beaten here today.
Anthony Tohill got the message. Within seconds of the restart, he pointed brilliantly from a 55-metre free kick. Derry were level and on the up. They effectively won the game in the next 10 minutes. Tohill moved the ball on to Enda Gormley, who set up Damien Cassidy to race through for the next score. Derry were fuelled by memories of '92, and none more so than Tohill, who turned in a quality performance.
Anthony Tohill is probably the best Gaelic footballer that we have saw in this last 20 years. I don't think anybody has saw the best of Anthony Tohill. And I would say at 26 or 7, if he keeps clear of injury, Anthony Tohill will be something special.
Tohill was ably assisted at Clonus by some experienced players who had waited years for this opportunity. Damien Barton, the oldest man on the team, knew all about the lows of Derry football. And so too Tony Scullion, an outstanding defender, who again came to his county's rescue. The cup was Derry's, and just as important, they had got over Donegal and got out of Ulster. They now realised more work was needed on the training fields to go even further. And under Mickey Moran, they prepared well for the All-Ireland semi-final, though Tohill sat out the last few days with an injury scare. On the big day, Derry upset Dublin by breaking away from the parade under Hill 16. They say it wasn't intentional, but what followed certainly was. Derry upset the Dubs even more when Tohill rifled a marvellous point over the Dublin bar from right under the noses of their support in the Hill. Derry had started promisingly, but then they inexplicably fell asleep. Dublin took control, outscoring Derry by 9 points to 1 in the last 25 minutes of the half. Some straight talking was needed in the Derry dressing room for the second half.
Joe Brolly shipped a heavy tackle from Jack Sheedy, still maintained possession. Henry Downey's decided to come up the field, and what an inspirational score by the Derry captain. Gormley is a man over. Seamus Downey, a beautiful quick transfer to Gary Coleman. Across the 13-metre line, Sheedy comes to meet him. Still Coleman. Fisted point. A brilliant point from the young miner. Joe Brolly looking for someone and gets it. Brian McGilligan. He doesn't score many points, but when he does, he uses the important ones. Darren McNicholl needs to retain possession and does. Trying to draw the defender, succeeds. Enda Gormley, a difficult angle, puts it across. Brolly's 100, but that's over the bar. That's a brilliant score for Derry. Well, there's a man who's causing double goals. Certain problems coming off his man. That's Joe Brolly. Downey needs to win this. He does. He needs someone over. The man who was full forward. Dermot Heaney going in. Pursued. Out comes Gormley. Turns on the left foot. Derry need to score. And they get it. Enda Gormley scores yet another one. Walsh and Downey. Enda Gormley in. And there's a break for Derry. Enda Gormley across the 20-metre line. Joe Brolly, the shot screams over the bar. Enda Gormley's in pursuit. Seamus Downey goes down for it, collects it. A beautiful transfer to Gormley. The man inside. Still Enda Gormley looking for support. The Derry captain Henry Downey. The kick by Downey over the bar. The Labby man who scored a point earlier on. Henry Downey brings the Derry fans to Scored 7 points. He's now scored 8. And there's 5 minutes left in this All-Ireland semi-final. And the sides are level. Taken by Brian McGilligan. Thrown in. There's a man under. Joe Brawley, the man of the second half, looking for someone. Finds a McCusker straight into the game. Henry Downey. McNichol. He's a man outside. Johnny McGirt. Thrown in front of him. Just when you wanted a pass to the chest. Now can McGirt do something? The left footed kick, the Lavey man. Magnificent day. Johnny McGirt. He raised the All-Ireland Club trophy for Lavey. Has that kick, which has raised so many Derry flags, brought Derry into the All-Ireland final.
Yes, Johnny McGurk was the hero. His dramatic score had capped one of the best comebacks ever seen at Croke Park, and it had returned Derry to the final 35 years after their only other appearance. The 3 in a row was very much on, one step from Sam. The build-up was measured and calm, the mentors and players enjoying a send-off from their supporters at Mahara the day before the game. On Sunday morning, some of the pundits went for Derry, but more for a Cork team with All-Ireland experience. Derry ran out to a thunderous welcome. They ran straight towards their own support on Hill 16. They were in buoyant and happy mood, confident of a Derry win. Joe Brawley posed in serious mood for the pre-match photograph. The players soaked up the atmosphere in the pre-match parade, and both sides were sporting red and white, though it was clear who had the bigger support. The pressure of expectation weighed on these Derry shoulders.
Don Davis facing Fergal McCusker. McCusker's come out from the corner back position to tackle Davis. Straight through on the overlap. Kavanagh right through the middle. McCusker's off his line. What a goal by Kavanagh. The first goal that Derry have conceded in this year's championship. Dermot Heaney. And now it's Damon Barton. Barton. Derry need a score. Johnny McGirt gets a vital kick in. Johnny McGirt, who scored that point at the end of the game versus Dublin, gets a vital point for Derry. Cahalane to Teddy McCarthy. McCarthy can't hold it. Brian McGilligan can. And McGilligan settles for the crumbs. Kicks it over. And Derry's second point. There's a broken ball here. Cassidy's gone for it. Teddy McCarthy couldn't make it. Still Damien Cassidy. Runs into Cahalane. Looks for support. Doesn't really need it. In comes Downey. Seamus Downey followed that ball in. Got it just in the air and pushed it past and bemused John Kearns. And still Shea Fahy. He's certainly recovered from his shoulder injury. Here comes Don Davis, the Skibbereen man. Draws the line to his clubmate McCarthy.
With 4 minutes to go to half-time, Cork defender Niall Cahalane floored Derry's Enda Gormley off the ball. The Cork man stayed on the pitch, but his punishment came soon enough. The strike livened up a here-too quiet Enda Gormley.
And now it's Fergal McCusker. And Enda Gormley, the man who was injured, now picks himself up. Throws one in, throws one up, and throws it brilliantly over the bar. If you're looking at classy point, then Enda Gormley is the man, and that's the perfect answer to off-the-ball tactics.
Seconds later, Tony Davis, the left half-back for Cork, crashed into Dermot Heaney near the touchline. And then, to his amazement, he was sent off. Everyone in the ground appeared to sympathise, including the Derry manager.
Cahalane should have gone first. He struck first. When you strike in this game, it says you must go, and he didn't go.
What's the message at half-time?
Message at half-time. It's not won yet.
Coleman would make one change to his team. Derry reappeared with Dermot McNichol on for Damien Cassidy.
Dermot McNichol, first time McNichol's touched the ball. Here he goes, raising the Derry voice. The volume rises. Henry Downey shrugs off Barry Coppey. McNichol's there. McNichol gets the shot in. If this goes over, Croke Park will erupt. It goes over, and it does. And Cork, yet again, gain possession in the midfield area. Don Davis, brother of Tony. That's a lovely ball by Don Davis. O'Driscoll What a goal! What a pass! And what a finish by John O'Driscoll. Well done by Heaney. Still Dermot Heaney. The hand goes in. Into Gormley. Left foot by Gormley. Over the bar by Gormley. And 20 minutes into the second half. The sides are level yet again. Into Gormley. Took the quick one. Come on, Johnny McGurk being egged on by the crowd. McGurk fires it in. McGurk fires it over. A case of deja vu. He's about 30 metres out. He's to the right of the goals. As he takes the kick, he tries to spin it across. Allowed too much. Did he? No, he didn't. And the Gormley judged it to perfection. Derry lead by 3.
That lead was enough. Derry held on to become champions for the very first time. The scenes at the final whistle compared favourably to those of the previous 2 years, though no one was happier than the GAA president himself.
When Derry won it, I'd have to say, all I could think of was, that's 3 in a row for Ulster. And I wasn't even fit to sit down. I remember normally I would sit down and wait until the captain is halfway up the steps or something like that. All I remember is as soon as the match was over, I was standing up and I was waiting for Henry Downey to come up, and to be honest, if he hadn't come for an hour, I would have stood for the hour.
And so Henry Downey became the first Derry man to lift the Sam Maguire. At last, he shouted to himself. His brother Seamus shared the joy as Derry returned to the relative calm of the dressing room, with their goal finally achieved.
Oh, we're going to enjoy it. I said last night, we listened to Phil Coulter sing the Derry air, and it would have taken a tear from a stone, and we were all sitting together and we nearly cried, like, and that's what it's all about, the pride, and we showed it out there the day to come back and win the game.
Former winners were also proud of Derry, and maybe a future winner had his photo taken with his proud father, Brian McGilligan. The journey home would meet massive crowds in Newry, Armagh, Tyrone and finally Derry. Mahara was awash with colour and alive with energy in the wee small hours of Tuesday morning. Though in the cold light of day, Ulster football never looked better.
I hope that all Ulster teams from here on in believe that they're as good as any other team in the country.
We didn't know how to win. I would say Jerome would be probably the best point to make, and now that we've learned how to do it, it's available to any side within the province to go ahead and do it now.
3 years ago, no one would have dared say that 3 titles would come to 3 different Ulster teams in 3 successive years. So football is an unpredictable business, but I think what we can be sure of is that the bad old days where Ulster teams went to Croke Park in the role of sacrificial lambs, I think that has gone.
And this cup has become a friend and resident of Ulster for 3 years, and all 3 times it's been presented by an Ulster man.
I look back sometimes and I think, how was I that lucky? But you know, it's better to be born lucky than rich, to say, and I certainly wasn't born rich.
He was born in Timor in County Fermanagh, and that's where the former president is returning to the grassroots of the association.
I have no doubt where my first love is in the GAA. It's definitely with Timor Shamrocks, and I suppose that might be seen to be a bit patronising to them, but they were responsible for the start, and that's where I got whatever attitudes I have towards the association. That's where they came from, and I suppose that's where I'll finish up again.
You've done your bit.
I hope so.